What's up, guys? Phoenix here. This video is going to be another Yu-Gi-Oh deck profile, and in this video is going to actually be an updated Ritual Beast deck profile. Now, ever since about a month ago when I posted my original Ritual Beast deck profile, and even more specifically in the last couple of days since Norden has been released, I've been getting messages from you guys asking if I've tested Instant Fusion and Norden in the Ritual Beast deck, how I liked it, and if it was, worth me doing an updated deck profile of in the possible near future. And I have to say, I did do some testing with Instant Fusion and Norden, but it didn't actually solve the problems that I was having with the deck, which are consistency issues and getting, combos moving in the first turn, preferably some form of ulti Hawk play. So Instant Fusion and Norden were really good for, utilizing quick rank 4 access and, allowing, good recovery and nonsense like that. But overall, it wasn't solving the problem that I had with the deck, so ultimately I am going down a different path with the deck. Now, you could still play Instant Fusion and Norden if you want to, but this profile is going to be utilizing something a bit different that I have found to actually start solving the problem that I have with this deck, which is the consistency of starting out on your first turn with some form of play. And the solution I found was using a small Gym Knight engine in conjunction with one of the Perform Mages, one copy of Trick Clown, to allow you access into Gym Knight Prismora as well as Gym Knight Seraphonite. Now, Prismora requires a Thunder, and that is very relevant because Hawk is a Thunder. So with Seraphonite and Prismora, alongside Brilliant Fusion in this deck, it basically takes the last strategy that I've had in the previous deck profile, the last theory, which was, just getting cards where they need to be and then utilizing them with, like, Oracle, Zephyra, Pilica, and all that. And it basically improves on that theory and allows it to work a lot better as a standalone, strategy for the deck to use moving forward. And I've been having a lot of success with this deck, testing it. I've tested anywhere between 40 to 50 games with this deck specifically, with this specific build. And every single first turn, I've been able to do some form of combo or play, whether it's ulti Hawk or if it's doing something with, like, making Exceeds through Seraphonite and then doing things like that. There's a lot of different utilitarian things that you can do with this deck with the addition of the Brilliant Fusion and Gym Knight engine. But anyway, that's enough rambling. I'm going to get into the deck. I'm going to explain things as I feel like they're needed. This video might be a bit longer, just simply because it's a rather unorthodox Ritual Beast deck. But anyway, for the Ritual Beast Tamers, there's 3 copy of Elder, because he is your staple one. 1 copy of Wind, just because she is really the worst one. 1 copy of Laura, just for the extra name, and then 2 copies of Zephyr and Pilica, because this deck is still operating off of the original theory that my last profile had of using Terraformings and Oracle of Zephyra to get into it when you need it. Now, for the actual spiritual beasts, there's triple Hawk and triple Rampangu, because these are the ones you obviously want to see the most. Double copies of Apelio and 1 copy of Petalfin, just for, essentially this is here for the name, but it does get its effect used quite often to banish cards out of your hand and bounce cards your opponent controls. It's a very good way to play out a Decree in that way, but this deck also has other ways to deal with Royal Decree in the main deck in the form of, Brilliant Fusion and nonsense, but I'll explain that a bit later. Now, the last 3 monsters that are in the deck that are not Ritual Beast named is 1 copy of Perform Mage Trick Clown, 1 copy of Gym Knight Amber, and 1 copy of Gym Knight Lazuli. Now, these are all meant to work with Brilliant Fusion, and this is obviously the light target to go into Seraphonite, and these are the targets to use to go into Prismora or Seraphonite. And the reason I'm playing 2 Gym Knights, specifically these 2, is that I was testing Garnet, but this being a Thunder actually just came up a lot, and also the interaction that you can have with if your opponent has flipped Decree on you, is that since this is also a Thunder and this is a Gym Knight, is that you can play Brilliant Fusion and dump both of these to the grave. This effect will activate and add Amber back to your hand, and then you can just discard Amber off the Prismora to pop the Decree. It obviously is, works for Decree, it works for any face-up problem card that isn't like Vanity's Emptiness. It's just an additional way to out-problem cards, as well as, like, just popping things that might be preventing you from gaming them. Like, if you have your own chicken game up and you can't get rid of it, you can do that. Just things like that. The 1 Trick Clown definitely comes in very, very clutch in terms of, like, all the Seraphonite plays you can do. You can usually, if you have a really weird string of cards in your hand, but like a Tamer and a Ritual Beast and Brilliant Fusion, you can obviously just Brilliant Fusion for Seraphonite, get the Trick Clown back, and then you can use your 2 summons on the Tamer and the Beast, and then you can usually get a Hawk search, bring your guys back, and then make a rank 4 with the Trick Clown and have like a Steed's Ambush. There's a lot of really cool combos there. But anyway, that was the monsters. I don't remember exactly how many there were. There were 16, 17, 18, 19, I think. It's either 18 or 19. But for the spells, there's triple Brilliant Fusion. Even though there's only 2 Gymnite targets in the main deck, these don't really clog, because as soon as you have one, you can either discard the other copies to give them their original attack back. But I'm also playing Emerald in this deck, and it's very accessible through, you know, Trick Clown and the Ritual Beasts being level 4s. So like you can always keep this card alive if you need it to be. But then for the field spell nonsense that was the main theory of my previous build, I'm still playing the Oracle of Zephyra. I'm playing 1 Chicken Game now, and I'm playing 1 Brain Research Lab, and then 2 Terraformings. Now the Oracle of Zephyra obviously searches Pilica, so you can open like a lot of combinations of plays with like Brilliant Fusion and either Terraforming, Oracle of Zephyra, Laura, or Pilica. That's 6 different cards you can open with Brilliant Fusion. And you can Brilliant Fusion for Prismora, putting Conahawk in grave, and then, you know, get Pilica or have Laura, and then bring back Conahawk, and you can do an ulti Conahawk play to get 2 searches, and you'll have, you know, you'll end your board with Steed's Ambush, Conahawk, and Prismora off of 3 cards. And then you'll be able to, you know, go from there with your further plays. Brain Research Lab's obvious. It's the only other field spell that I wanted to play, simply because it makes all of your Ritual Beast Tamers into basically Elders. So it's basically like a Seraphonite that you don't have to use Brilliant Fusion for it. And that's honestly what I was really looking for. Chicken Game, I only wanted 1 Chicken Game in this build, simply because, well, the reason I'm playing this Chicken Game is because I wanted to play 2 Terraforming at least. But like I couldn't think of another field spell I wanted to play. I didn't really want to play a second copy of either Oracle or Brain Research Lab. And this just functions as an upstart goblin. So like if you already had a play that you could do and you had Terraforming, like usually you'd have one of these already, and you could Terraforming for Chicken Game and get a draw, and then just play the other card over it and thin your deck for cards. So basically that's the theory that's working on of those cards. It looks very weird on paper, and I don't really like the way it looks on paper, having one of just 3 different names of fields of Terraforming, but it's actually just been working very, very well. And then the last 3 spells are just 3 Upstart Goblin for, you know, more speed and nonsense like that. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 spells, which means there is 19 monsters because there are only 10 traps. But yeah, all the spells are literally just engine cards. No Regeki, none of that nonsense. Those are sided. No MSTs, because like the only cards you're really going to be dealing with that that are actually going to be a problem to you are things like Decree or anything like that. If you're able to play the game and your engine is working, then you are going to be able to deal with problems through Pedal Fin and being able to, you know, Prismora them away with, you know, that Prismora play that I mentioned earlier. Things like that. But anyway, there are 10 traps, 3 Steeds, 3 Ambush, just 2 Phoenix Chain, just because Effect Negation was what I really want to go for. You could really just put any 2 traps in here except Macro. Macro doesn't really work in the main deck of this build, but you can definitely side it. But if you do side Macro in, you definitely have to like take out the Brilliant Fusions. You have to take that out. You basically have to go back to playing like a trap-heavy Ritual Beast deck. And then the last 2 cards are just Warning and Emptiness. I just wanted them to be really high-impact cards, and like I feel like this deck has to play this because you really just don't want, you'll get blown out by Denko Sega, and so like this, just having the option of having this is just better than not. And then Emptiness is just a really powerful card that you can use to at specific times to just win games from there, and then, you know, back it up with Steeds, and it's typically just over from there. But it's a very interesting deck. This extra deck is very tight, and there are definitely some changes that you can make to it. This is basically just all working off of like what I've found that I needed at this point. But for the Ritual Beasts, 2 Guy Peleo, only 2 Ultia Peleo, simply because like I never find myself actually with this build specifically, because of your increased accessibility into Conahawk, I never really find myself banishing the Peleo off of Rampangu, because usually you have such good access into Conahawk that you can, you know, get a Peleo banished just normal way. And I never found myself needing the 3rd because I'm not playing Bond, and that OTK doesn't matter, like, happen. And there's a lot of different OTKs that this deck can do that don't involve Bond. As well as, like, I'm playing Emerald because of the Trick Clown access. You have a lot easier accessibility into rank 4s. So, like, Emerald is actually an option. Like, if you do end up banishing this off off of Rampangu, and then putting it in the graveyard off of Conahawk Search, you can then just put it back off Emerald. It sounds like it's very situational, and it sounds very, like, anecdotal, but it actually does just come up a lot. But I am playing 3 copies of Conahawk because, like, this was the one I was finding myself needing the most, because I always wanted to have at least one in the extra deck. This deck does have increased access into Conahawk, But, you know, sometimes things happen, and, like, you just have to let one of these die or something like that with some of the combos that happen. So, like, even though Emerald can put them back, I just always wanted to have the third one of that. And then one copy of Petalfin, just because, like, as I've said, this is like the least useful one, and I'm really comfortable with this deck, so I know I can just play with one and be fine. Also, you know, you don't end up banishing it off why do I keep saying Petalfin? You don't end up banishing it off of Rampengu as much as you used to, because again, this entire deck's motto is to get the Conahawk. But then for the Gym Knights, obviously Prismora and Seraphonite. Prismora, Gym Knight, and a Thunder. Seraphonite, Gym Knight, and a Light. So Gym Knight plus Clown, or Gym Knight plus Conahawk. Or both Gym Knights, if you just need to out a card, like I've said before. But, like, it still works in the way where, like, if you have double Brilliant Fusion, if you open double Brilliant Fusion, you can make either of these, and then during the next turn, you can make the other one, and the Lazuli will add the Amber back to your hand to ditch off of this. So you can just have both of these on the board at the same time, and it ends up working in that way as well. That's why those are the two specific Gym Knights I decided to run, instead of just playing Garnet for the attack. So, I mean, that's just my own opinion. You can play Garnet if you want to, but I've found a lot better success with those two. But for the rank 4s, there's only room for 5, but you do end up making them a lot more now because of the Trick Clown specifically. But Castell, Diamond Dyer, Exiton Knight, Daigusto Emerald, which you can honestly swap out for anything else if you wanted to, but I personally run it for the, you know, sole purpose of putting back Trick Clown, putting back stuff like that, keeping the third Brilliant Fusion alive, things like that. Just nonsense in that regard, because the only other, like, one that you detach one off of is, like, Dweller. So most of the time when you're doing a Trick Clown play, you're making one of these two, and this only detaches one, but it blows itself up, and the Trick Clown will be under it, and this detaches two. So you only ever get to use Trick Clown once, unless you're just going for one of these, in which case you can leave Trick Clown under it as the other material to be used during the next turn. But even if that's the case, like, you can just shuffle Trick Clown black. Shuffle Trick... I can't even speak anymore. Shuffle Trick Clown back with Daigusto Emerald. And you can also just, like, get cards back into the deck and draw cards like that. But again, like I said, this is just something that I'm personally playing just because, like, it was just something I felt was, like, worthy as a 5th card. But you could play something else like Cowboy or Steel Swarm Roach, some people I see playing in Ritual Beasts. You could do whatever. I don't really think that there would be room to fit Instant Fusion and Nodin into this deck specifically, and also keep using the Brilliant Fusion targets, because, like, that'd be like 12 fusions, because you would have to play 1 to 2 Nodins, so that'd be 11 to 12 fusions. You could, like, cut one of these if you play 2 Nodin and keep it at 11, but, like, that's a very important card, and I don't think that'd be worth it. But you would only have room for, like, between 3 to 4 Exceeds that you would be using the Nodin to go into. So, like, I feel like if you're going to be trying to play with Instant Fusion and Nodin, then you can't really utilize this build, because it'll just be really cloggy. But I personally really like this build. I don't think it's anywhere near perfect, but it has been giving me amazing results in testing, and I've been really enjoying the things that I've been doing with this deck. And it is very, very unlike any Ritual Beast deck I've ever played before, because the deck literally just, like, functions very fluidly. It functions a lot more fluidly than I ever thought a Ritual Beast deck could, simply because, like, there's so many different combinations of opening hands that you can just utilize now. Especially, like, if you have a combination of, like, cards like Brilliant Fusion, Elder, Conahawk, like, your play ceiling is really huge, because you'll get 2 additional normal summons in the turn, because you'll make Seraphonite and, like, you'll make Seraphonite, get the Trick Clown back, you'll summon this, banish a thing, you'll do the normal Elder Conahawk play, getting your 2 searches for Ambush and Steeds, and then you'll have, like, you'll be able to end with a rank 4 with the Conahawk and that, like, under the thing, and, like, you'll be able to search off the Ulticon Hawk and gain your first, you know, normal summon for the turn, because Seraphonite will be what you're summoning Elder off of, and then Elder will summon this, so you still haven't used your normal summon for the turn. There's just a lot of really crazy interactions that this deck has, and it's, like, really insane, and it's very, very fluid, and I absolutely love it. But anyway, as always, guys, tell me what you guys think. Leave a comment down below, comment, rate, subscribe, like the video if you like the content I've been producing and want to support my channel's growth now as well as in the future. I do plan on filming some games with this in the near future. I just don't know when I'm going to get around to it, because I am testing for YCS Dallas majorly right now, so the games may be few and far between in terms of what other decks I'm playing besides Necros and Dolls and stuff like that, because I'm basically just, like, trying to figure out what I want to play at Dallas. I'm pretty sure I'm going to play either Necros or Dolls. And those are the main 2 decks I'm testing. But I am keeping myself open-minded. But I don't know if I would play this at Dallas or not, simply because, like, I don't think that I could test this deck enough to be completely flawless playing with it in the time that it would take between now and Dallas. But anyway, as usual, links are in the description to my Facebook pages, my fan page, as well as my personal Facebook page. Go to either link, do the appropriate action with either. Clicking at it if you have not, I greatly appreciate it. Helps make money, and there's no reason to lie to you guys about that, but as usual, I would not be offended nor take it personally if you decided not to do so. Just know that it helps me out immensely if you decide to do so, and it's just further motivation for me to keep making videos because, honestly, like, who doesn't like to get paid for doing something that they already enjoy? But that is all for this video. Again, tell me what you guys think about this deck list down below, and as always, guys, take care.